All right. You ready to sing? We need you. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari and Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Padurjikacharya Ashtoto to Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Padurjikacharya Ashtoto to Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai Ananda Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Okay, give me a second here. I'll try to. Okay. This was a last minute thing, so I didn't bring my usual paraphernalia. Okay. Sorry, no technical difficulties. Okay. Narayana Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamadiriyet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashta Prayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatuttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On the 6th day of September 2024 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace HG Dravida Dasa Prabhupada. And we are in the 7th canto entitled The Perfect Society. Okay. 7th canto, chapter 12, The Perfect Society for spiritual classes, starting a new chapter. And we'll read the chapter summary. This chapter particularly describes the brahmacārī and the person in the vanaprastha stage, and it also gives a general description of the 4 ashrams: brahmacārya, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas. In the previous chapter, the great Saint Narada Muni has described the varna institution of society, and now in this chapter he will describe the stages of spiritual advancement in the 4 ashrams, which are known as brahmacārya, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas. The brahmacārī should live under the care of the true spiritual master, giving him sincere respect and obeisances, acting as his menial servant, and always carrying out his order. The brahmacārī should engage himself in spiritual activities and study the Vedic literature under the direction of the spiritual master. According to the brahmacārya system, he should dress with a belt, deerskin, and matted hair, and should bear a danda, a water pot, and a sacred thread. He should collect alms daily in the morning, and in the evening, whatever alms he has collected, he should offer to the spiritual master. A brahmacārī should accept prasadam under the order of the spiritual master. And if the spiritual master sometimes forgets to order the disciple to eat, the disciple should not take prasadam on his own initiative. Rather, he should fast. The brahmacārī should be trained to be satisfied with eating what is absolutely necessary. He should be very expert in executing responsibilities. He should be faithful, and he should control his senses and try to avoid the association of women as far as possible. A brahmacārī should very strictly abstain from living with women and should not meet with grihastas and those too addicted to women. Nor should a brahmacārī speak in a lonely place with a woman. After completing one's education as a brahmacārī in this way, one should give dakshina, an offering of gratitude to one's guru, and then one may leave for home and accept the next ashram, the grihastha ashram, or else one may continue in the brahmacārya ashram without adulteration. The duties for the grihastha ashram and the brahmacārya ashram, as well as the duties for sannyasis, are prescribed in the shastras. A grihastha is not meant to enjoy sex life without restriction. Indeed, the whole purpose of Vedic life is to become free from sexual indulgence. All the ashrams are recognized for spiritual progress, and therefore, although the grihastha ashram gives a kind of license for sex life for a certain time, it does not allow unrestricted sex life. Therefore, in grihastha life also, there is no illicit sex. A grihastha should not accept a woman for sexual enjoyment. Wasting semen is also illicit sex. After the grihastha ashram is another ashram known as vanaprastha, which is midway between grihastha and sannyas. A person in the vanaprastha order is restricted in eating food grains and forbidden to eat fruits that have not ripened on the tree. Nor should he cook food with fire, although he is allowed to eat charu, grains that have been offered in a sacrificial fire. He may also eat fruits and grains that have grown naturally. Living in a thatched cottage, the vanaprastha should endure all kinds of heat and cold. He should not cut his nails or hair, and he should give up cleaning his body and teeth. He should wear tree bark, accept a danda, and practice life in the forest, taking a vow to live there for 12 years, 8 years, 4 years, 2 years, or at least 1 year. At last, when, because of old age, he can no longer perform the activities of vanaprastha, he should gradually stop everything, and in this way, give up his body. Okay, text 1. Shri Narada Hovacha brahmacārī gurukule vasan danto guror hitam acharan dasavan nicho gural sudridha sauridha. Shri Narada Hovacha brahmacārī gurukule vasandanto gurorhitam acharan dasavam nicho godal sudrida sauridaha. Shri Narada Hovacha brahmacārī gurukule vasandanto gurorhitam acharan dasavam nicho Godal Sudada Sauradaha. Shri Narada Hovacha brahmacārī gurukule vasandanto gurorhitam acharan dasavam nicho Godal Sudada Sauradaha. Shri Narada Hovacha brahmacārī gurukule vasandanto gurorhitam acharan dasavam nicho godal sudada sauradaha. Shri Narada Hovacha brahmacārī gurukule vasandanto gurorhitam acharan dasavam nicho guru sudada sauradaha. Shri Narada Hovacha brahmacārī gurukule vasandanto gurorhitam acharan dasavam nicho Godal Sudada Sauradaha. Shri Narada Hovacha brahmacārī gurukule vasandanto gurorhitam acharan dasavam nicho Godal Sudada Sauradaha. Shri Narada Hovacha brahmacārī gurukule vasandanto gurorhitam acharan dasavam nicho godal sudada sauradaha. Anyone online? Okay, word by words. Shri Narada Hovacha. Shri Narada Muni said, brahmacārī, a brahmacārī, a student living at the residence of the Guru. Gurukule, at the residence of the Guru. Vasan, by living. Dantaha, continuously practicing control of the senses. Guru hitam, only for the benefit of the Guru, not for one's personal benefit. Acharan, practicing. Dasavat, very humbly, like a slave. Nichaha, submissive, obedient. Gurau, unto the spiritual master. Sudridha, firmly. Sauridaha, in friendship or goodwill. Translation by Srila Prabhupada and his no purport. Narada Muni said, a student should practice completely controlling his senses. He should be submissive and should have an attitude of firm friendship for the spiritual master. With a great vow, the brahmacārī should live at the Gurukula only for the benefit of the Guru. Please repeat. Narada Muni said, a student should practice completely controlling his senses. He should be submissive and should have an attitude of firm friendship for the spiritual master. With a great vow, the brahmacārī should live at the Gurukula only for the benefit of the Guru. Text 2. All right, I'm just going to read the English here because it's about 4 or 5 more verses without purpose. At both junctions of the day and night, namely in the early morning and in the evening, he should be fully absorbed in thoughts of the spiritual master, the fire, the sun god, and Lord Vishnu. And by chanting the Gayatri mantra, he should worship them. Text 3. Being called by the spiritual master, the student should study the Vedic mantras regularly. Every day, before beginning his studies and at the end of his studies, the disciple should respectfully offer obeisances unto the spiritual master. Text 4. Carrying pure kusha grass in his hand, the brahmacārī should dress regularly with a belt of straw and with deerskin garments. He should wear matted hair, carry a rod and water pot, and be decorated with the sacred thread, as recommended in the Shastras. Okay, text number 5. The brahmacārī should go out morning and evening to collect alms, and he should offer all that he collects to the spiritual master. He should eat only if ordered to take food by the spiritual master. Otherwise, if the spiritual master does not give this order, he may sometimes have to fast. Text 6. A brahmacārī should be quite well behaved and gentle and should not eat or collect more than necessary. He must always be active and expert, fully believing in the instructions of the spiritual master and the Shastra. Fully controlling his senses, he should associate only as much as necessary with women or those controlled by women. Purport. A brahmacārī should be very careful not to mix with women or with men addicted to women. Although when he goes out to beg alms, it is necessary to talk with women and with men very much attached to women, this association should be very short, and he should talk with them only about begging alms and not more. A brahmacārī should be very careful in associating with men who are attached to women. Om jnana timbarandasya jnanandana shalakaya chakshu unmidatam mena tasmai shri gurave namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara, the disciplic succession. So, I don't think that we're supposed to follow all those strictly. Prabhupada never introduced the wearing of deerskin, carrying of a danda. That was for the sannyasis. But the basic principle of being very austere, possessing as little as possible, and having that service attitude, humble service attitude, is definitely what Prabhupada instituted. And of course, in addition, with the idea of celibacy. That's the key to brahmacārī ashram. And since this is in the context of Gurukula, so that the Guru is always there. That's what the Gurukula means. Well, Srila Prabhupada was not always there in our temples, obviously, and even when the new gurus are there, they're also not personally present. But we should understand that the presence of the Guru is here. Prabhupada is present in everything. He's present in his books and all of the instructions for the deity worship, and he's present in his murti. So how do we know what orders to follow and if we're following them? Well, that's possible because of Prabhupada's understanding and his preaching that the temple president is someone who is in immediate authority, is, if you will, if I can revive this word, channeling, purely reflecting the orders of the GBC, which is meant to embody Srila Prabhupada's orders. So that's how the authority structure is there. But the basic principles are always, brahmacārī life, as little association with women as possible, and that for preaching or the service, and brief as possible. And because that's as Prabhupada said many times, and this is obvious, this is the real thing that's binding us to this world, sex life and all of its appurtenances, the extended manifestations of that. So it's practically inconceivable to just from the outside to think how one could practice this in this environment, in the environment of modern day, with everything, here we are, probably the last place one would consider if you're just looking at a map, to have a brahmacārī ashram 3 feet from the Southern California beach, not in a holy place in the sense of it's not in Vrindavan, it's not in like that. It's just, and yet by the strength of the process of devotional service, one can, if one is determined, actually follow the principles, and they become much easier as time goes on. This is the beauty and the power of the chanting of the holy name, is that when it purifies one's desires, Cheto Darpana Marjanam, right? Cheto Darpana Marjanam is that it's clearing the mirror of the heart, purifying the heart. Srinvatam Sakata Krishna Punya Shavana Kirtana Karidyantaksto Yabhadrani Vidunoti Surit Satam. Very important verse. That once one acquires the taste for hearing about Krishna, Krishna is there as the super soul. He's in everyone's heart. And when he understands that you're hearing it submissively and with great attention and from the right source, Swakata, his own kata, which just by hearing it gives you piety. Punya Shravana Kirtana. And hearing and chanting, you're getting rid of so many sins for you actually becoming piety. But the most important thing is Ridyan Saksto Abhadrani Vidunoti, that Krishna cleanses away the heart of all the abhadras, the inauspicious things we've accumulated since time immemorial, from life after life. So the most inauspicious thing, if you will, the thing that binds us here most powerfully is the sex desire. So that becomes manageable. It's not that it may be gone, but you're able to follow the principles and progressively become more detached from that. I remember one of the most important verses for this when I first started reading Bhagavad Gita is that, I forget the number, 250, is it Vishayavani Vartante? Nirahara Siddehina Rasabarjam Rasopyasya Padam Drishrana Vartade. Is that one can detach himself from anything. I often think of people who are going on a diet, not a fast, but a diet in order to lose weight, right? So there's a whole list of things that you can't eat anymore, or you have to minimize. Best if you don't eat them because you lose your control. So all of those heavy foods and the sweets and everything, okay, I'm not going to, because I want to lose weight, I want to look good, so that's the mundane, but it's still there. So there's a vishaya, and it literally says niraharas, not consuming, not eating, because all the senses, in a way, consume their objects. When we hear something with great attention, we're consuming the sound. So niraharas siddehine. So for one who doesn't consume them, then the objects turn away, meaning that you have a certain detachment there. But unfortunately, desire is still there. The desire of them is still there. And everyone knows, the alcoholics and then food addicts, whatever, that if you have the wrong association, or if you slip a little, then you can go completely overboard, and there goes your diet, there goes your abstinence from alcohol, whatever it may be. So But rasavajam rasopyasta padam drishrana vartate, when you experience directly the padam drishra, seeing experiencing Krishna through the chanting of the holy name and all the services that you do, then even the rasa, even the desire leaves, is banked. And you find that, incredible examples like Haridas Thakur, who was so absorbed in the holy name and so much tasting the nectar of the holy name, that even when the prostitute comes in the middle of the night and starts, exposing her body, and all of this stuff, and even speaking to him and inviting him, he wasn't tempted in the least. She tried to tempt him, but he wasn't tempted. Tempted means that there's some desire, and usually when you say I was tempted, you don't yield to the desire. That's what it means, But she didn't allure him. She didn't tempt him. All those words mean that there was some attraction, and he was attracted, But he wasn't at all. And the only reason he stayed was to save her. This lady came here. Okay, it's a living entity. Let's see what I can do. So you know the story. He just kept chanting. Oh yes, I promise. But this I have to finish my rounds. But he never finishes his rounds. Anyway, so after 3 days she was purified because she was somewhat pious. Her occupation wasn't that pious, but she knew what was going on. And so she actually became purified and attracted and apologized to Ren, and he said, I know the whole thing, but I stayed here just to save you. She became renounced. She gave everything to the Brahmins and the Vaishnavas, and it took over that ashram that Haridas was staying in, a little hut probably or something. He offered it to her, and she became very famous. So that's the power of the chanting, especially in this age. There's no other way. And there's so many other examples. Yamunacharya, in his famous verse, Yadabadi Mamacheta Krishna Pada Aravinde. He had been a king. They have all, facility for sex life and whatever else they want to do. So he had been indulging in that. But then he was saved from that, and there's a whole nice story. And he became Yamunacharya, the spiritual master of Acharya, the spiritual master of Ramanujacharya. And I think he was the one who wrote, what is that? Prabhupada quotes? Stotra Ratna. Thank you, Stotra Ratna. So anyway, so he's saying here in this verse, even when I remember, now that I look back and then because the thoughts, bubble up in your mind. When I remember the sex life, my lips curl in distaste and I spit at the thought. He's actually felt that much distaste. So that's what brahmacārī means. It basically means celibate, a celibate student. These description here, Prabhupada never instituted most of this. Certainly the clothes, that wasn't there. But the basic principle of renunciation, of minimizing to absolute necessary the association with women, and this idea of not associating with those attached to women. That's a very important principle. What comes to mind is that on the positive side, tuliyama lavenapi naswargam napunarbhavam bhagavat sangi sangasya martyanankamatashisa. It says that even a half a moment's association with a Bhagavat Sangi, meaning a Bhagavat Sangi. Yes, right, exactly. A close associate of the Lord, in other words, the pure devotee. So you want Bhagavat Sangi Sangha. You want association with one who is associating with the Lord. A moment's association with the pure devotee, in other words. Cannot be compared, the value of that. Naswargam, going to heaven. Na punarbhavam, not coming back. In other words, liberation. You see? What to speak of some material, opulence in the material world. You know what I'm saying? Cannot be. Why is that? Because you can get the seed, love, isn't it? You can get the seed of bhakti even from a short association by hearing submissively and acting on what you hear. So that association gives you the seed of bhakti. And what is it all about? It is all about cultivating the desire to serve Krishna more and more and more. Isn't it? That's what it means. Instead of serving your senses, serving your material desires, serving some materialism. We have to serve. That is our constitutional position. We're going to be serving. Either we're going to serve our senses, we're going to serve our crazy ideas, a million things we can serve. But unless we serve Krishna, all of those services simply keep us entangled in this world. And then we lose the human form, and we're programmed in. It's all, in other words, no, the dogs and the cats and everything, they can't decide to practice devotional service. There are some fortunate dogs and cats, don't get me wrong. By good fortune, they become associated, they become purified. Even go back to Godhead in Lord Chaitanya's Leela. But basically, the human form is the one where we can do this. Otherwise, it's basically animal life. What is that? Ahara, nidra, bhayamaitanangsha, samanyaraitan, pashabhis naranam. Dharmo hitesham, adhiko abhishesha, dharme nahina, pasabhishamana. So, we and the animals share these four basic principles: eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. So what's the difference? What's the deciding characteristic in human life that makes the difference? Dharma. And without Dharma, we're no better than animals. Polished eating, polished sleeping, sometimes not so polished. But there's no difference. And you're headed toward animal life. That's the real truth. So we've all been in that syndrome. I mean, growing up in this world, practically, of course, there are nice Vaishnava families that you can grow up in, but by and large, the whole world is absorbed in these things, certainly the Western world. But Srila Prabhupada, he had the mission to spread Krishna, Lord Chaitanya's teachings and the holy name in the Western world. And he took that as his life and soul. It was like do or die. He said, if he dies trying, that's glorious also. And he almost did, even before he got to these shores, But Krishna was protecting him. And there's this wonderful pastime. It's such a wonderful gift. It's names. Who wrote that book? Srila Prabhupada, The Friend of All? Mula Prakriti, of course. I'm sorry, I'm getting old. So she she was living in Vrindavan, and she visited as many people who knew Prabhupada before he came to America. And she interviewed them, and she asked him about the pastimes that he had with Prabhupada. And fascinating things came out. I think this was her who told us about Prabhupada having a vision of Rupa Goswami, encouraging him, and saying, "You just write these books, and everything will take care of everything." And so he was inspired and blessed in so many ways, and uniquely empowered. And among all of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's disciples, Bhaktisiddhanta himself felt that Prabhupada had the best chance, that he was going to do it all alone. Don't worry about it; he can do it, And Prabhupada didn't want to do that. When he came to America, he tried to get his godbrothers to come and help him. And, he wrote to a very wealthy gentleman who he knew and who was very pious. He wants to start buy a building in Manhattan, which even in those days was very expensive. And the gentleman said, well, he was interested more in building a temple, But that wasn't going to happen. Finally, he didn't have that help. So he had to turn to the locals, Brahmananda and Rupanuga and Mukunda Maharaj and all the others who were sent by Prabhupada, Shyama Sundar. I mean, all of that, organizing that mantra rock dance and then going to England and meeting with the Beatles and especially George Harrison. That was, to me, that's just obviously Krishna's, arranging all these things to happen. So anyway, and Prabhupada, he was preaching this brahmacārī from the beginning, as this is the preferable thing, Yes, there's marriage. There can be very advanced devotees in the marriage. Prabhupada blessed them. But he said from the beginning, best to avoid it. Even Hayagriva, he wasn't married or anything. And so he heard, the restrictions in Grihastha ashram. This is mentioned here, I think, in the next section on the Grahastas. The sex life only for having children, you know. So that's like once a month, and then once the lady is pregnant, no more sex for a year, basically, you know. So he said to Prabhupada, better to avoid it altogether, you know. And Prabhupada said, yes, that's better. So that was the standard Prabhupada said, because it's simply a fact that the most powerful binding force in this world, material world, is sex attraction. It's just a fact. And many stalwart devotees have, you know, had problem with that and fell away because of that. I've often thought that in the early days there was so much chanting. There was so much, you know, Harinam Sankirtan. When I joined, I was lucky. This was near the end of when it was de rigueur, so to speak. 3 hours a day. 3 hours a day, everybody. And I loved it. You know, you go out in the afternoon. We went to Fifth Avenue. We were right next to the, you know, we drove into the city. And there we had this one church. Somehow, I don't know if they knew we were there or not, but they never bothered us. So we had these steps. And we would go and chant there at Fifth Avenue in Midtown, you know, right in the middle of the whole thing, you know. And then on Saturday night, Maha Sankirtan, 100 devotees. We had about 100 devotees in that temple, 70, 80, 90, 100 devotees. And we all go out and we go into the evening late, and then this one devotee, Jideshwar, he would come at the end with a big bucket full of hot halva, you know, where we could eat, could have prasadam like that. Here, right here, when I came here in '89, it was a tradition. I think it was Saturday night. Everyone would go out. We go to La Jolla. It wasn't such a big drive downtown at that time. We go to La Jolla, and it was understood there was going to be prasadam when we came. You know, this one devotee Jayanta, who I saw on Janmashtami, he was here, and his 2 daughters. He would always cook something like that, you know. And it was just a wonderful festival. Everyone was, you know, ecstatic and so forth. So that was the main, you know, and of course the morning and evening program. It was very much, you had to be there in the morning and the evening. It was a different mood. In the morning, like we have the lights are off, it's meditative, you know, the samsara dhavana. But in the evening, it's Kiba Jaya Jaya Gora Chander. Is a song describing Lord Chaitanya being worshipped on the bank of the Ganges. It's like Mahaprakash, basically, right? So he's revealing himself. Yes, I'm actually God. And mostly he would say, no, don't call me Vishnu. You know, the human being. He was actually Vishnu. But in this case, for all the devotees, he revealed, and he even revealed their different avatars. You know, so this is describing that wonderful, wonderful pastime of Lord Chaitanya being worshipped in this Mahaprakash. And, you know, the lights were up and we're dancing up and down the temple. It was just ecstatic. And Radha Govinda were there, you know. So it just kept everyone enlivened. And I'll tell you the fact, when, you know, because I was there and we'd have new guys joining all the time. There were so many people, mostly guys. There were ladies too who would join, but mostly guys. And they couldn't just move in. There was a halfway house just a block from the temple. One devotee, he was working at the stock exchange. He had his own apartment and everything. So we had Devamrita Swami, later Swami. He was one of the bhaktas who were in the halfway house to see if you could actually do it. Get up early in the morning and 4:30 in the morning, and, you know, like they wanted to test you, not to get you to move in the temple. Then you can't do it. You know. So that was so it was just a happening place. And I remember one devotee left. I was shocked. So why would anyone leave? You know, there's so much. But it was too much, you know. Whatever, something was too much. So this is strict, shastric, you know, brahmacārī. Prabhupada had to make so many adjustments when he came here. So brahmacārī, the basic principles are already there. Minimum, you know, celibacy, minimum association with women, and only when possible, when absolutely necessary. And we had a brahmacārī ashram, and it was dynamic. And so this is what we're just beginning this chapter. This is the corresponding essence, you know, part of the varna ashram. This is the ashram part. Without the ashram part, it's just mundane. Organizing society according to your psychophysical nature and everything, But here, especially, it's what's the essence of it is, yes, it's a way in which society can be organized so that those who are intelligent and determined can actually go back to Godhead. They can leave this, get liberation and go back to Godhead. And so and we'll read about, I had forgotten that the prescription is the brahmacārī is supposed to have a danda. I don't know, And the vanaprastha, wow, can't eat any grains, all these things. So I don't think we have vanaprastha. I remember when Danavir, he was married, Danavir Maharaj, he was married. And then he took vanaprastha, which basically means that he put on white and he was living separate from his wife who was still there, who had been there. But he was running the bhaktas. He was really pioneered all the way of training bhaktas. He wrote this book, Fortunate Souls, which is up there in your library there. And then, of course, he took sannyas. And unfortunately, he's had this Parkinson's. But he's still maintaining that center there, Upanudik Vedic College, which I don't think there's ladies there. I think it's all brahmacharis. So that's it. It's 8:30. Any questions or comments, locally or remotely? And I think I think the next verse is about vanaprastha. Oh no, grahastha. Yeah. Okay, if there's no questions, then let's proceed to the next stage. Getting ready for breakfast. I doubt if it's ready right now, but we'll do that. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.